John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. It's not the spookiest theme song that ever existed.
But it's a good one, though. It's a lot better than others I've heard.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And it's good to see you, John.
Good to see you too, Kevin.
Yeah, well, you know, the reason I mentioned spooky is because this is our Halloween episode.
It is. Yep.
It is the week prior to Halloween as we're recording this. Are you dressing up, John? We talked at the end of last week about costume ideas because I said you should be Jason Momoa.
I haven't thought of an idea yet, but sometimes a classic go-to for me is a lumberjack, just because I've got jeans, I've got boots, I've got suspenders, I wear plaid shirts, and I have an axe. So
and you have an axe. You didn't even mention the beard, but like, yeah, you were born to be a lumberjack. What? Maybe a beanie on top of that?
Yeah, I've got one somewhere.
You know what you need is a second lumberjack, and you need one of those long saws, those old school saws where one
the crosscut saws. Yeah.
Yes, you would make on Halloween. You'd make a great lumberjack, and in everyday life, you'd make a great lumberjack. You have that in you for sure. What I decided to do is I decided to get one of those colorful hats that have the spinning propeller on top. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then I got a Dodger sticker that I'm gonna put on it, so it looks like a Dodger hat. I'm gonna be wearing a Dodger jersey, and I'm gonna be a Dodger fan.
Ah.
Yeah, you're with me. You're ready. You want to hear that rim shot, don't you? That was a terrible rim shot. Yeah, so you know, it's not the best thing I've ever done, but for what I think is going to be a kind of low key Halloween gathering I'm going to, and for last minute, I feel like it's like totally appropriate.
No, it's a good one.
It's not my best, but one year I was just a giant oscillating fan, and I went around to people and I just said, "Hey, I'm a big fan." And people were like, that was literally all the laugh I got. So, well, yeah, we're talking about Halloween stuff because it is the Halloween episode. Yep. John has prepared a quiz about the history of Halloween, which is kind of our go-to on holidays, which I'm excited about. And I've just labeled my quiz Halloween Fun. It's just random Halloween facts, got some pop culture-y things in there. And we're just going to cover all things Halloween.
Yeah.
On what's your sort of, well, you know what? Maybe we just go to tidy up first, and then we'll get into the quiz with more follow up. All right, let's tidy things up. Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go. Fix our mistakes tonight. I wanna get it right. Tidy up. We always like to tidy things up if we have errors from previous episodes. This is where we do it. I don't think you had any errors from last episode that we were called out on, at least, right?
I don't think so, but I can say we are up to 10 patrons now.
Hey, we got a new one, right?
Yeah, we did. Would you like to say who it is?
I should, because it's my sister, so it's probably my territory. Yeah, my sister Erica, who, as you know, well, if you've been listening, my brother's girlfriend is a patron of ours, Brooke. And I've made many and my dad is a patron. And when my dad signed up, his name is Bob, but his legal name is Robert. And so we found out Robert Schatz had become a patron. I thought it was my brother. So I was all excited. I was like, my brother loves me. And turns out he's not a patron. His girlfriend is. And the reason I say that is because my sister, who we would like to give a very warm thank you to for signing up to be a patron of ours, wrote an email along with it that I'll quickly read. She said, one thing I wanted to say is that I signed up to be a Patreon/patron/paid logger. So does that mean I love Kevin more than Robert loves Kevin, but maybe less than Brooke? And I think that's a pretty accurate, I think at this point, because you're a patron and my brother Robert is not, that yes, my sister loves me more than my brother, but a little less than my brother's girlfriend Brooke because she became a patron first. So, and I say all this after my brother spent an enormous amount of money on me to take me to a Dodger game and some very good all-you-can-eat seats, and I'm still denying that he loves me. So,
I mean, I will say that my sister hasn't become one yet.
That's true.
We have put her to work some, so she has helped us out.
Yeah, not only has she been a guest, but she's also helped us with putting the quizzes on our website in the past. So she's putting labor in.
She is.
And that's her contribution. The last thing that my sister kind of added a tidy up. She spent a lot of time catching up on episodes. She was really behind. She said there's a semi-recent one that I loved is the Bigfoot episode. She says, you guys were talking about a Bigfoot musical. And first, please make that happen. Thank you, Erica, we will. But second, there's already sort of been a Bigfoot musical in Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. One of my favorite scenes is when Jack Black is flying on the back of a Sasquatch singing. You've seen this movie, right, John?
I completely forgot about it too.
I can't believe I did because it's so funny. And I don't know if I went back and rewatched it.
I haven't rewatched it yet. It's been a while since I watched it.
Oh my God, I was laughing. Look, that movie is a hit or miss movie. I like it because I love Jack Black. I love Tenacious D. But it's not the best movie that's ever been made. But that scene, I won't spoil it too much, but it's a mushroom trip that Jack Black's character is having. And he meets Sasquatch, and he's played by John C. Reilly, by the way, which I didn't know. And Sasquatch has this little baby voice, and it's just so. And I told our Bigfoot expert, Devin, who was a guest on it. I told him about it. He had not seen that scene, so he was all excited to watch it too. Good call, Erica. That was one that we definitely missed.
It was.
Okay, John. Do things feel pretty tidy to you? They feel pretty tidy to me.
Yep, they feel tidy up.
All right. Well, let's get into quiz time.
It's time to take a quiz or two. Like a genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie. Baby, it's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough. I just want to pass one cause I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie. Baby, it's quiz time.
So, John, what I was going to ask you before I interrupted myself, what is your excitement level around Halloween? Like, where does Halloween rank in your favorite holidays? Do you get excited about it? Do you not care? Do you, where are you at?
I think I'm somewhere in between not care and excited.
Okay.
I think it just depends on the year and, what's happening and everything. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the candy.
Yes, that is what the Halloween spirit is all about, is eating candy. Just like Christmas is about the presents, right?
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to.
Is your son going trick-or-treating? Is that something that you do? Or
he normally goes with his mom.
Okay.
Because his stepdad's mom is a fantastic costume creator.
Oh, really?
I think she used to do something professionally with that, but she makes costumes for all of the grandkids. This year, I guess everyone's doing skeletons. So he's going as a skeleton this year.
I was going to say it's not your grandma's skeleton, but it's literally his grandma's skeleton. But it's like a cool looking skeleton is what you're saying.
That's my understanding.
Well, that'll be fun. I asked just because, I was thinking about Halloween on my walk today, and I kind of forget until Halloween rolls around how much I love the Halloween season. I love the creativity that goes into creating costumes, that goes into decorations. When I go on my walks, I have a little neighborhood and there's all these Halloween decorations, and there's one house that has a Krampus. Do you know Krampus, the evil Santa? Did I already share this with you? I probably did.
No, but I know of Krampus. Yeah.
He's like the nutshell version is he's an evil Santa Claus. I know there's much more to it than that, but in fact, let's post it on socials. I'll send you a picture and we'll put it on our stories or something. It's this terrifying looking evil Santa Claus with hooves, and he's got these long fingers and rings on them, and he moves back and forth, and it's my favorite thing ever. So anyways, I get really excited about the Halloween season, and so that's why I'm excited for this episode. Okay, so I think I was going to ask the first question. Is that right?
Yep.
By the way, we are all tied up, right, in terms of our total wins and losses.
I believe so.
Okay, so this is the first question on just kind of general fun Halloween stuff. According to research done by candystore.com, what is America's favorite Halloween candy? Is it candy corn, Skittles, Snickers, or Reese's Cups?
I'm going to say candy corn, even though I absolutely hate candy corn. It's one of those pink Starburst. They are one of my least favorite ones, but yet for some reason...
You always get them?
Well, one, I always get them, but two, it's the one that everyone else wants.
Yeah, I like the pink Starburst.
I prefer the yellow.
You know what? That's hilarious, John, because I was going to say yellow is my least favorite, but that makes perfect sense because we learned in a previous episode you love lemon flavored things and lemon heads and things like that.
So Just because of that logic, that reasoning, I'm just going to go with candy corn.
You're going to lock it in?
Yeah, and I also think I remember hearing something this year about there being a shortage of it too. So
that's funny. I have not heard that, but that would give you more evidence for that. All right, so you're locking in candy corn, America's favorite Halloween candy.
Yep.
That is incorrect, John. Sorry. You know, and I could have given you I maybe could have given you more information. It is Reese's Cups. Reese's Cups is number 1 in America.
I'm okay with that.
What CandyStore.com did is they looked at 14 years of sales data from 2007 to 2021. And they said they looked particular at the months leading up to Halloween. And they also say they have relationships with major candy manufacturers and distributors, and they all contributed to the research. So a quick rundown of the top 10, starting from 1 is Reese's Cups, 2 is Skittles, 3 is M&M's, 4 is Starburst, 5 is Hot Tamales, 6 is Sour Patch Kids, which might be my favorite, 7 is Hershey Kisses, 8 is Snickers, 9 is Tootsie Pops, 10 is candy corn. So it did crack the top 10 at least.
Yeah.
And John, a special addition to this, and it's so funny that you brought it up, is they also did a breakdown by state. And any guess what Indiana's favorite candy is?
Starburst.
It is Starburst. Yeah, it was hilarious that you brought it up. The top 3 for Indiana were Starburst, Hot Tamales, and Jolly Ranchers. The top 3 for California, Reese's, Skittles, and M&M's. And by the way, there is one state, it's so funny that you mentioned the lemon. There's one state that Lemon Heads is number 1 for. It's basically a shot in the dark. Do you want to take a random guess though?
I'm going to guess somewhere in the Northeast.
Yeah, decent guess. It's in the South, Louisiana. I don't know why or what the logic is, but yeah. So there you go. There's your candy knowledge for stepping into Halloween.
Well, so on mine, we're starting off true false.
Okay, bring it in.
Halloween means Saints' Evening.
Ooh, wow. True or false?
True or
Halloween
false?
means Saints' Evening. See, like I think of things that are coming to mind is All Hallows Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that before. I know there's Dia de los Muertos, which is the day after it's the Day of the Dead, but Halloween itself, Saints' Evening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really tempted to choose false because I want to say it means something else. In fact, I want to say it means like, I don't know if Hallows Eve is the right thing, but I'm going to choose false and just take a roll of the dice and say that it means something else that I don't know what it is.
Incorrect.
Dang. Saints' Evening.
Yeah. Well, and so you're correct in Hallows Eve, but Hallow means saint. Halloween is basically the shortened version of All Hallows Eve. And so Hallows is actually meaning saint. So the day after Halloween is All Saints Day or All Hallows Day. So it is the night before
It's the
All
Saints'
Hallows
Evening.
Day. Right.
That makes sense. Good explanation on that. Good explanation. I like it. And the saints, these are the saints of candy, right? Saints of candy corn specifically.
Yeah, maybe it's something that's been around for 1,300 years, give or take, in some fashion.
That's much longer than I would guess most people would assume Halloween's been around in some form. All right, so number 2 for my quiz. Right now we're both 0 for 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so here's number 2 on the Halloween funness. So there's an image on this one. It's of one of my 2 Halloween EPs. I released some Halloween songs that I'll get into later, but which of the following is not a title of one of Kevin's Halloween songs? And here are the 4 title options. Candy Corn, Twice the Candy Means Twice the Fun, Pumpkin Genocide, or When I Say Holla, You Say Ween. Which is not a title of one of my Halloween songs?
I'm going to go with Candy Corn again.
I was like, oh, you have a chance to choose the same answer twice in a row.
and I think just because of that, I need to.
So you're saying Candy Corn is not the title of one of my songs?
Correct.
All right, John, you are incorrect. Candy Corn is the title of one of my songs. The incorrect answer, this is not one of my song titles. When I Say Holla, You Say Ween. So I've released 2 EPs. They're on Bandcamp. They each have like, I think 5 songs on them. And the first one was over 10 years ago. I think it was 2010. And I wanted the album title to be called When I Say Holla, You Say Ween. And I was working with a friend at the time. And I remember he just thought that was over the top. And he and I are, it's funny, we have very different senses of humor. He's much more subtle than I am. And in hindsight, I'm like, I wish I had done it. I think, but I have performed songs from just in very small places from the EP. And I do a little breakdown where I say, all right, when I say holla, you say ween, holla, ween, holla. Anyways, Candy Corn is a song. And in fact, John, if you would allow me to, I would like to play this song for you in the audience.
Sure.
It's a very short song. It's extremely short. It's 12 seconds, I believe. So without further ado, you ready for this?
Yep.
All right, here's Candy Corn.
Candy corn, don't you know you got me torn? Cause I don't know which part to bite, yellow, orange, or white.
Yeah?
Nice.
See, because there's 3 colors on it, yellow, orange, and white. And
Yeah.
so which part are you going to bite? And then ever since I wrote that song, every time I have a candy corn, I'm like, ooh, which part am I going to bite first? And it's usually the top part. The one thing I will say, and this is just my preface of like it, so if people are like, oh, I want to hear these songs. These songs are not totally representative of me anymore. I'm not necessarily ashamed of them, but they're musically, stylistically, they're very different. Some of the lyrics are like, they were sort of appropriate back then, but now that
You've grown.
yeah, I've grown. We've grown as a culture. So I don't normally go out in public and talk about a lot of these songs, but there are a few that I'll pull out, such as Candy Corn from time to time.
Nice.
All right, John. So you're 0 for 2.
I'm 0 for 2.
Candy Corn is not helping you out, and I'm 0 for 1 to start. But let's find out if I can go 0 for 2 like you.
So in the last question I asked, we just established that in general, Halloween is a Christian holiday, right?
Uh-huh.
But what non-Christian holiday do some historians say influenced Halloween?
Oh.
Holi, Samhain, the fall equinox, or Beltane?
And the second one you said Samhain, right?
Yep.
But it's spelled Samhain, so I would have thought it was Samhain.
It's
Which sounds
Samhain.
like a businessman. Hey, I'm Sam Hain, businessman. I don't. It's Holy or Holly? You just said it, and I can't even remember.
I believe it's Holly.
Okay, I was just gonna say I've heard of this, but clearly I have no clue really what it is. I'm kind of culturally and religiously disconnected. I don't know any of these except for the fall equinox, which is what I want to choose. But I guess the fall equinox is considered a holiday. What non-Christian holiday do some historians say influence Halloween? It's either I choose fall equinox or I choose any one of the other 3 at random. And I don't know which way I'm going to go just yet. See, so I feel like if I'm just choosing at random, then I have a 1 in 3 shot.
Right.
And so I might as well just go with the one that I feel like is a gut reaction. So I'm just going to say the fall equinox.
Incorrect.
Yeah, I figured.
In fact, it is actually Samhain.
Samhain.
Yeah.
Samhain.
Yep.
Spelled Sam Hain.
Yeah. That's the Gaelic spelling for you.
Got it.
Samhain is a Gaelic festival marking the end of the harvest season and beginning of winter. Kind of the same time of year, and in the Gaelic cultures before, Christianity came and took over everything. Some of what the Christians did was started to bring in some of the pagan and holidays and everything into the Christian religion to get people to convert a little bit easier. And so some people think that maybe some of the traditions for All Hallows Eve, Halloween, kind of got pulled in from Samhain.
So it was a recruiting effort.
Kinda, yeah.
Samhain, Sam Hain. I don't know, man. I mean, I literally knew 0 about anything to do with that question. So you've really enlightened me. Well done. We are both off to a very hot start. And by hot, I mean, we both missed the first 2 questions.
This is true.
I was just going to ask you to make conversation, but I realized this question will lead into it. I was going to ask if you had a favorite Halloween movie, but instead we can get to that. But I will just read this next question. What is the highest grossing horror film of all time? Not necessarily a Halloween film. Highest grossing horror film of all time. This is worldwide box office. Is it The Exorcist, The Sixth Sense, It, or The Blair Witch Project?
I don't know if I feel like we've talked about this a little bit, but I absolutely hate horror movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't think we have talked
Yeah.
about it. Have you seen any of these 4? Exorcist, Sixth Sense, It, or The Blair Witch Project?
I have seen the newest version of It, like the remake of It, like
Yeah.
part 1. I never saw part 2.
That is what this is referring to. The other one was a TV only release.
Right.
So
I've not seen The Sixth Sense, but I know the plot of it.
you know the big spoiler at the end? you know that he sees dead people.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
I
by the
mean,
way.
and I'm actually not a huge M. Night Shyamalan fan to begin with.
Oh, I am, but then his they kind of teetered off as he
Right.
went. But yeah,
You know, Blair Witch Project, I knew about it.
never saw it though, huh?
Never saw it. Never wanted to be honest. And I mean, The Exorcist, it's The Exorcist is old enough to where it's just a part of culture. You know, everyone.
Sure, you know basically all you need to know about it without having seen it.
It's funny. You ask me to sit down and write something fictional, I can't do it. But as soon as I start watching a horror movie, my mind just goes into overdrive and it just starts thinking of all these issues, like different, like, yeah.
It gets your overactive imagination and goes to scary
don't like it.
places.
Yeah.
Wow, how about that? That's like your kryptonite. I will say before you choose an answer, I'm not the biggest horror fan either, but when I do sit down to watch them, I'm super into them.
Right.
Like it takes a lot for me to push that play button. I equate it to spicy food. Some people love spicy food. I like spicy food, but I have to really like prep for it. I have to say,
Right.
you know what? I want spicy food. And it's an experience that's like, oh yeah, there's something tingly about this. And that's horror movies
You're ready
for
to
me.
deal with the repercussions of it. And
Yeah, exactly. Not being able to sleep at night. I've seen some really good horror movies in the last few years that I am a fan of, but yeah, it takes a lot to get me to watch them.
like it's not that I don't enjoy thrillers and stuff like that. It's the jump scares. I just don't see the fun of like the Saw movies and stuff like that. I'm okay with violence in movies, but that's just gratuitous, I guess.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and you have to be in the right. The Saw movies has one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen.
Right.
The syringe pit. That's all I'll say. It's just I will never be able to get that out of my head. The feeling of it.
So a question that I've got
Yes.
about this is it accounting for like inflation and the value of the dollar changing, or is it just a number?
It's just a number.
Okay, because I feel like if it accounted for inflation and stuff, then it might be The Exorcist. But because that's so old, you know, movies were like 50 cents
Yeah.
versus the 20 in some places. I'm gonna have to go with it.
It is the highest grossing horror film of all time. That's your choice?
Yep.
That is correct, John. Good job. Good logic. Good question to ask as well. Yeah, I think that's part of the biggest reason is that it was a recent movie. Almost $700 million, or a little over $700 million worldwide, making it the #1 horror movie of all time. And It Chapter 2 is number 11 on that list. So it obviously did really well for itself. Blair Witch Project is pretty far down. It's 41. I kind of just threw that in because it had been mentioned in our documentary episode, I think, or something like that. It was in one of those episodes. And by the way, I ended up going into a deep rabbit hole of there were 2 more Blair Witch movies. And I read the plot I was like, okay, instead of watching them, I'm just going to read the plot. And they actually sounded pretty decent, but who knows how they actually looked. Sixth Sense, number 2. Sixth Sense is number 2. I'll read you the top 5 really quick, which is they're kind of funny. Number 5 is Kong Skull Island. I wouldn't even consider King Kong a horror movie.
No, that's just an action movie.
Yeah, and King Kong is number 6, followed that. World War Z, number 7. I'm kind of going the other way. But okay, 5 is Kong Skull Island. 4 is I Am Legend with Will Smith, which I guess I won't consider that.
It deals with
It
vampires.
is zombies. Yeah, it is like zombie disease illness, so I get that.
I thought it was
3
vampires.
Well, it's an illness that they get. I think they're supposed to be zombies, and they can only come out at night. If they come out during the sun, their skin burns.
Well, isn't that a vampire?
Yes, but it's also isn't a zombie. They are real people who get an illness who then they are now the undead. So I think maybe it's a zombie vampire hybrid is what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
it is a great movie. That's number 4. Number 3 is War of the Worlds. Number 2 is Sixth Sense. Number 1 is It. All right, John. Well done. What do we got, John? Where are we at now?
Question number 3.
I'm 0 for 2. You're 1 for 3.
Yep.
Let's do this.
Which century did Irish and Scottish immigrants bring Halloween to the United States? 17th, 18th, 19th, or 20th?
So we know, kind of based on what you're saying, that some form of Halloween or All Saints Day, Saints Evening has been around for a long, long time.
Right.
When did Irish and Scottish immigrants bring Halloween to the U.S.? Well, when did Irish and Scottish immigrants come to the U.S.? There's a question. I mean,
that's a good question.
Wow. Well, and here, I'm also thinking, okay, when were like witch trials happening, and I don't think those are associated with Halloween in any way, shape, or form, other than the witch factor.
So let me rephrase the question a little bit. In what century did Irish and Scottish migrants bring many of the Halloween customs to the U.S.?
Okay, interesting. I'm not good with history. I kind of want to choose the earliest one. I think I am because I'll just debate to nothing for no end. I'm just gonna say the 17th century.
Incorrect.
Dang it.
It's actually the 19th. And you were actually kind of headed in that direction when you were trying to figure out when were Irish and Scottish immigrants coming to the U.S.
Yeah, which I don't think I would have known anyways.
Right.
But
so, I mean, it was the 1800s. That's the 19th century, right? A lot of immigrants came from Ireland and Scotland then. And so they brought a lot of the customs that had been developed in that part of the world over the past. And so when they immigrated, they brought their customs with them, and then it kind of just went from there.
Do you know what those customs look like? I mean, is it anything like today, anything close to today, like mask wearing or?
Yeah, the mask wearing and, bobbing for apples and carving jack-o'-lanterns and a lot of that type of thing. Some of the trick-or-treating, that was kind of a thing then too, that was brought over.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you're hitting on sort of why I like Halloween so much, because I think on a very superficial level, you think of, okay, trick-or-treating on the day of, but there's so much buildup and activities that go beforehand, the pumpkin carving, the bobbing for apples, the decorating, and then the many branches of horror and Dracula and witches. And so thank you to Irish and Scottish immigrants for coming over and bringing pumpkins and carving faces in them.
I mean, and before it became known as trick-or-treating, it was actually known as guising, as in disguises, guising.
Guising! I like it. Like you're going and you don't know who I am, so give me all your food.
Pretty much.
That's cool, man. All right. Well, I'm 0 for 3, which makes sense because it's about history. So, and my quiz about fun, you're 1 for 3 on, which makes sense because you're just a fun guy, John. Here's number 4. And this is, it's a little bit niche of a question, potentially, but throughout the 9 seasons of The Office, which I don't know your experience with The Office, so it's kind of a roll of the dice. Throughout the 9 seasons of The Office, which of the following was not one of Jim's Halloween costumes? Is it Facebook, 3-Hole Punch, Popeye, or Michael Scott?
I have watched some of The Office.
Okay.
Not much. But I will say I scrolled up maybe a little too far and started to see the picture of Ernest below. So I'm excited for question 5.
Good. Yeah, that's what we call a tease in the business.
I'm assuming he dressed up as Michael Scott at least once, if not more times. Just even not on Halloween. I feel like a 3-Hole Punch is something that, they would have done just because they could.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to go with Popeye.
Popeye, and you're locking that in? Popeye was not one of Jim's Halloween costumes? All right, correct. That is incorrect. He was Popeye, and it was sort of his least creative costume. I actually never saw this episode. I just read the synopsis of it. Michael Scott is actually, he never was Michael Scott for Halloween. He may have dressed up as Michael Scott outside of it. I was almost going to put Dwight Schrute as an answer, but I didn't want that to be too confusing because Jim has dressed up as Dwight Schrute, but it was never for the occasion of Halloween. The Facebook costume was when he literally wrote the word book across his face, so he was Facebook. 3-Hole Punch is when he put just 3 black circles on his shirt, and he was a 3-Hole Punch. Popeye was an episode where I believe he and Pam were already married by this time, and I believe what it was is that they were dressing up as Olive Oyl and Popeye, and all he did was get a corncob pipe, and it really disappointed Pam. So at the end of the episode, it was really sweet. He came in a full Popeye get up. And then the other costumes that he's been is he realized he forgot it was Halloween one year, and he was just dressed in his normal suit and tie or whatever. And he said, "I'm one of the Men in Black guys," like because he's got the right. And then his sort of least creative costume, he was one of the big 3 on the Miami Heat one year with Kevin and someone. So he was Chris Bosh. He was literally Chris Bosh. And he one time was Dave. He put a name tag that just said Dave, and that was another one of his costumes. I figured Office is a pretty big cultural phenomenon, so I figured there'd be people who would appreciate that question. And by the way, this doesn't really have much of a segue to it, but we were talking about teasers. I forgot to tease that at the very end of this episode, so after the theme song plays, I am going to include one more of my Halloween songs at the end of it. It's another short one. It's less than a minute. It's like 53 seconds long. So it's hopefully it'll be worth the wait. And I'm going to do no more hyping up of it than that. That's your treat at the end of this episode.
Sounds good.
All right. So I was about to call you Jim. John, you were 1 for 4, correct? After that question? Yeah, 1 for 4. So I'm still in the game, man. I'm 0 for 3 and we're going on to number 4 for Halloween history.
So before pumpkins, what was used to carve jack-o'-lanterns? Turnips, squash, potatoes, or onions?
Squash jumps out to me as a pumpkin is a squash, right? Or is a gourd. A pumpkin is a gourd, and I believe a squash is a gourd. So it sort of makes sense that it could be squash.
I would think about the previous question.
Oh, yes. The 19th century. Oh, yes. Oh, you've given me a great clue. If your clue just led me to this, I will say this is what I was leaning towards. Because of the Irish culture, potatoes are a big Irish crop, whatever you want to call it. I know there was a famine of potatoes also. My thought was that, they started with potatoes and they realized that the potatoes don't hold up very well, or they go bad real quick. I mean, I guess so do pumpkins, if we're really being honest. But maybe they decided, okay, what would last a lot longer is some other sort of gourd fruit. Is a gourd a fruit or is it just a gourd?
It's a fruit.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah, look at me go. I'm going to choose potatoes, John. I'm going to lock in potatoes.
Incorrect.
Dang it. You led me down the false path.
Not quite. It's turnip or
I just
rutabaga.
went down the wrong.
Yeah.
Rutabaga, both great words.
Yep.
Turnip and rutabaga.
Yeah, they would carve turnips because pumpkin is a native fruit to the Americas.
It's so weird to call a pumpkin a fruit. It is,
right?
but it's just like, it's weird to call it that.
Just like squashes, watermelons, cucumbers, all fruits and all related if memory serves.
I have a song called Fruits and Veggies and I didn't know any of those things. I feel like I'm not allowed to have that song anymore.
I remember, we were just talking about that, Kevin. You've grown as a person since then. So.
Yes, thank you, John. Thank you. That's in the pre-show, by the way. You sign up to be a patron, you can listen to our pre-show and hear. Was that in the pre-show or was that in the real show?
No, it was in the real show.
Okay, well, either way, I just plugged the pre-show.
But yeah, no, it was turnips. You were correct in thinking root vegetable.
Okay.
So, turnips are pretty hard.
Yeah. And do you know why they made the switch? Or it just became more culturally?
Pumpkins were a native thing to the U.S. They're bigger, easier to carve. But like with the turnip ones, from my understanding, the kids would actually carry them as lanterns.
Oh, it would literally be their lanterns.
Yeah, to help scare away evil spirits and stuff when they're walking at night on Halloween.
That's great. I've taught my nephew, he has this little lantern toy and it's got a cute little face on it. And I've taught him to hold it out as he's walking and turn it on and say, "Who goes there? Who goes there?" And he'll say it in this, he'll try to do that voice and he does it pretty good for him. So anyways, maybe I'll have him carry around. Oh, that's cute because if you think about it, when you trick or treat and they have those little plastic jack-o'-lantern ones, it's kind of like you're carrying around that light. Yeah. That's very cool, John. And I've just opened the door for you to seal a win here.
Yeah.
Because I'm 0 for 4. I had a chance, much like the Dodgers, they just had to win to force the game 7 and they didn't get the win. So you get this question right and you'll win the episode. And I'm not feeling great about my chances based on your excitement because it's if you know the Ernest movies, it's a very simple question.
It is.
If you don't know the Ernest movies, then it's a fun thing to debate. And I think you already know the answer,
And I love the Ernest movies.
Okay, and so do I. And we may need to do a whole episode on Ernest movies. And before I even ask the question, let's just quickly explain. If you don't know who Ernest is, he's a character created by Jim Varney, and he started an he literally was in commercials and then became a character, and he has a series of movies that are sort of like cheesy comedies, and he does all these impressions, and I just get so excited talking about him that I don't do a very good, accurate description of who he is, but I love all the Ernest movies, and I highly recommend it to the new generation of children coming up in this world. So here's the question. Which of the following is the correct title of the Ernest Halloween movie? Is it the Ernest Halloween movie, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Trick or Treats, or Ernest Saves Halloween?
It's Ernest Scared Stupid.
It is. It is. And I love it. And I had a lot of fun making up those titles, and not that they're crazy clever, but yeah, Ernest Scared Stupid, which I won't go as far to say that I watch every year on Halloween, though I probably should. But I did watch it last year, and it was actually a really nice time with my sister. The night was kind of young, and we were like, well, we should watch a Halloween movie. And we kind of were taking our time to decide which one to watch. We watched Ernest Scared Stupid, and it was so much fun. And I'm stealing all the Ernest thunder, but what's your experience with the Ernest movies?
I mean, Ernest Saves Christmas and Ernest Goes to Jail, I think, are the two that I've watched the most.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've watched Ernest Scared Stupid, and I might have to try and find that somewhere on the internet to watch later this week with Jacob. So
yeah, you should. And you know what, John? And I mean that obviously I'm very biased as an Ernest fan. It holds up. It's actually a pretty good Halloween movie. It's not, it's got a little bit of like scariness in a kid-friendly way.
Right.
I also like it because it's a time before CGI, so the I won't spoil what the monster is in this movie, but the monster is like a legit thing in front of you that looks creepy, and I love that. Ernest Goes to Camp, by the way, is my most watched Ernest movie and probably my favorite.
That's probably of the ones that I've seen. I know that there's a couple I haven't seen. So of the ones that I've seen, I think that's the one that I've seen the least.
Oh, got it. It's I mean, obviously we're both camp people, but as a camp person, there are later Ernest movies, which I don't think are worth the watch. I haven't seen some of them, including Ernest Slam Dunks and Ernest Goes to Africa. I started watching Ernest Goes to School, which is one of his later ones, and I couldn't get past the first couple of scenes.
I think there's one where he like Ernest joins the army or something like that.
Yes, there is. And I haven't seen that one either. But the early one, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Goes to Camp. Those are the four I can definitely vouch for.
And don't forget that Jim Varney was in the Beverly Hillbillies movie.
He was Jed Clampett in the Beverly Hillbilly movies. And he's the voice of Slinky the dog in the original two Toy Stories. Yeah. He sadly, not to take a sad turn, he sadly died of lung cancer several years back now. And a true American treasure, that man. And I mean it, man. What a gift to this world. I love Ernest. All right, John. Well, let's see if I can at least get one right on this history quiz. The last question for Halloween history.
You could have easily asked this question in yours as well. But when did the first haunted house open? And the haunted house is in quotes, meaning something that's very similar to... It was designed to be haunted.
Okay. So, and again, you don't have to necessarily explain thoroughly, but it's not necessarily an actual haunted house. It could be, but it was more of an attraction.
Exactly.
Okay.
1969, 1915, 1986, or 1954.
Interesting. Yeah. First 1969 kind of jumped out to me. 86 seems too current. It feels like by then there would already be haunted houses that people would go to. 69 jumped out, but as I'm really thinking about this definitely seems like a little bit more of an old-timey kind of thing, like, oh, come check out the haunted house and see the ghosts and the goblins and and I think I want to, I mean, at the risk of going 0 for 5, I kind of think I want to choose 1915. Like it was just sort of a fun thing that they invited. Maybe it wasn't even for kids necessarily. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was more of an adult thing, but I don't know. Just because I've kind of already been leaning that way. Let's go with 1915. Let's lock it in.
Correct.
Yeah, Kevin got one.
Yeah, it was in 1915. It's what's known as, it was the first recorded purpose-built haunted attraction.
Purpose-built haunted attraction. Right. Okay.
And it was in Liphook, England, and it was called the Orton and Spooner Ghost House.
So my accent was incorrect because it wasn't an American sales pitch person. It was a British one.
And from what my understanding is, it more closely resembled like a carnival funhouse, but it was powered by steam.
Wow.
And it actually still exists. I don't know if it's still open.
Okay.
The other dates I gave you, the last one is just a number that I made up. 1969 was when the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland opened.
Nice, John. Nice.
And that's kind of seen as the first haunted house attraction in America. And then the other number, 1986, that was when the Fright Fest at Six Flags first started.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, John, you've opened up so many pathways in my head that I don't know which way I'm going to go first. Haunted Mansion, the movie with Eddie Murphy, wasn't terrible. I watched it last year. It was better than I expected, but I will also admit that I really like sort of child-friendly I don't like kiddie Halloween movies, but child-friendly adventure Halloween movies. In fact, I watched Hubie Halloween, which is Adam Sandler's Netflix Halloween movie, thinking it was going to be like a joke of a movie, like just a disaster. I really liked it. I really liked it. But I say that with the preface of I like this style of movie. Secondly, Haunted Mansion, opening in 1969, reminds me that as I was researching Ernest's stuff, he did I think it was just a TV sort of movie, and it was basically one big advertisement for Splash Mountain. And he was the first person to ride Splash Mountain in this. At least that was the buildup in the story that they were telling. And it's showing him doing all this training. And what was the other thing that? Oh, I know what it was going to be. But I mean, you mentioned Six Flags Fright Fest. I was going to ask you what in your part of the world. Are there a lot of like haunted houses, theme park attractions, things like that? Because we have a lot of that stuff going on here in LA, and I wonder what your experience with that is.
Yeah, I mean, there's at Indy, there's a big one called the Indy Scream Park where they've got like, I think I saw on the billboard last night, like 8 different attractions at one place. Just like horror movies, I am not a fan of haunted houses.
Same here, dude.
And then there's also, I know some churches put on,
I got a story for you.
Yeah, those types of haunted houses.
I definitely got invited to a haunted house a church haunted house when I was in high school. And my best friend and I go through it, and they literally, in each room you step in and they're screaming about the fact that they're going to hell because they had premarital sex.
Right.
And I was too young to really realize just how, like, are you kidding me? Like, is this really what we're doing? But in hindsight, and then we ended in a room where we sat down and probably got pamphlets about the church. And I was like, oh, we're just being recruited for church. Okay, where's our candy? Can we go now? All right, John. Well, you won this episode. Great job by getting 2 correct, and I got 1 correct, proving that we don't know a whole lot about Halloween, but you have far less lack of genius than I do. That was the most confusing way I could have said that, but you won. Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? I just realized for next week, I believe on our calendar, we have our collection items, things that we collected when we were kids. And for me, there is actually a Halloween tie-in. One thing that I collected is troll dolls. And if you're not familiar, I'll obviously get more into this, but they're the little dolls with the bright colored hair and the little gem on the belly. Yep. And the Halloween tie-in is that one year I was a troll doll, and I wasn't quite ballsy enough to go shirtless and put a gem on me. I wore a white person skin color shirt, and my hair was really long at the time, and so I literally sat upside down and sprayed my hair with hairspray and stayed there for like 30 minutes, and then stood up, and it stayed up, and nice. It was quite an accomplishment. So I'm doing troll dolls. What are you doing? I
think Magic the Gathering.
That was what we decided. And I guess if we need to change it last minute, we can. But I know that has a huge following and something that you collected for since you were young, right? Youngish.
12, 13.
Okay, yeah. That's in that wheelhouse. Yeah. So that'll be next week. Do you have anything that I'm missing or you wanted to add?
Just that visually we might have something new coming out soon.
Ooh, that's a little teaser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have something, a new thing to, God, we're trying to be coy about this, but a new thing to unveil.
Yeah, I mean, and if you've listened to the past couple episodes, you've heard a name be mentioned a couple times that we've been working with him on something.
Yes.
This might be that thing. So
this might be. In fact, it factually will be that thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's a teaser. Much like I teased that there's a Halloween song after this theme song that you'll be able to listen to. It's called Cool Guy. I hope you enjoy it. Happy Halloween, John.
Happy Halloween to you.
Enjoy being a lumberjack. Happy Halloween, listeners. I hope you have fun. I hope you get some candy. I hope you be creative and enjoy this creepy time of year.
Well, the nice thing about being an adult is I can just go buy candy.
That's true. Or you can steal it from a kid on the street and make him cry and everybody wins.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus. That's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
cool guy at the Halloween party who chose not to dress up. No one likes you, go home.